In this program, we'll discuss short field operations, which are listed as maximum performance takeoffs and landings in the Commercial Pilot Practical Test Standards. We'll also look at how to perform soft field takeoffs and landings. While these maneuvers are practiced separately, there are times when you might need to combine the techniques. The first maneuver we'll discuss is the short field takeoff and climb. For training purposes, if an actual obstacle doesn't exist, you should assume there is a 50-foot obstacle at the end of the runway. Make sure your airplane has the performance to take off under the existing conditions by checking the takeoff performance charts in the airplane's POH. During your pre-takeoff check, set the flaps as recommended in the pilot's operating handbook. Before you attempt a short field takeoff, position the airplane as close to the approach end as possible and align it with the center line. Hold the brakes and apply full power before releasing them. This procedure allows you to check engine performance before starting the takeoff roll. Maintain positive directional control by using nose wheel steering until the rudder becomes effective. Allow the airplane to accelerate with the stabilator in a neutral position for minimum drag. When you reach the recommended liftoff speed, smoothly and positively rotate the airplane to an attitude which will achieve the best angle of climb airspeed, or the recommended climb speed. Maintain this speed until the obstacle is cleared. Attitude control is very important during the rotation to minimize the ground roll and maximize climb performance. If your pitch attitude is too high, induced drag becomes excessive. This significantly decreases acceleration and extends the ground roll. On the other hand, an attitude that is too low delays liftoff, which again increases the ground roll. When you're clear of the obstacle, accelerate to the best rate of climb speed and slowly retract the flaps. If you're flying an airplane equipped with retractable gear, you should raise it as soon as you have established a positive rate of climb and can no longer land on the remaining runway. Landing on a short runway, or on one which has the landing area restricted because of obstacles, requires a short field landing technique. Preparation for the landing begins on the downwind leg. There you should slow to pattern speed and extend the flaps to the first position. If your airplane is equipped with retractable gear, lower the landing gear. It's recommended that you extend the second increment of flaps while on the base leg, and full flaps when on final. All the while, progressively reduce airspeed to smoothly transition to the short field approach speed. Ideally, the final approach is conducted at a constant glide angle, airspeed, and power setting. The objective of the short field landing is to clear the obstacle, land safely, and stop the airplane with little or no floating. This requires precise control of airspeed and descent angle. Establish the approach speed early on the final approach. Normally, the recommended speed is not more than 1.3 times the power-off stalling speed. However, in gusty wind conditions, you might want to increase your airspeed to help maintain control of the airplane. Once your pitch attitude is established for the correct angle of descent, you may need only small power changes to control your airspeed. If you maintain the recommended airspeed, you'll touch down near the designated point on the runway with very little floating. After touchdown, lower the nose as soon as practical and apply maximum braking procedures. This usually includes holding back pressure on the control wheel to transfer more of the aircraft's weight to the main gear. Maintain positive directional control and follow the recommendation in the POH for flap retraction. If you touch down at the correct speed and smoothly apply maximum braking, the landing roll will be extremely short. Soft field techniques must be used when the runway surface is covered with snow, sand, tall grass, or mud. You may also want to use these same procedures to minimize the problems associated with a rough surface. If the taxiway is also soft or rough, the soft field procedure actually begins in the parking area. Plan ahead so you can keep the airplane rolling once you start taxiing. This might mean you will have to complete the pre-takeoff checks in the parking area. Once you begin to taxi, keep the airplane moving at a steady speed. You can relieve some of the weight on the nose gear by holding the control wheel in the full aft position. Before you taxi onto the runway, however, make sure the traffic pattern is clear and that all pre-takeoff checks are complete. If the approach and departure paths are clear, taxi onto the runway. When you're aligned with the middle of the runway, smoothly apply full throttle. As the engine reaches full power, check your engine instruments to verify proper operation. Continue to hold back pressure on the control wheel and maintain positive directional control. The rudder will become more effective as your speed increases. The objective of the soft field takeoff is to minimize the friction between the landing gear and the runway. To do this, you need to establish and maintain a nose-high pitch attitude as soon as possible during the takeoff roll. However, with increased speed, you have to release some of the back pressure to maintain the pitch. With the proper technique, the airplane will fly itself off the runway at an airspeed lower than the normal liftoff speed. This occurs because of ground effect. Once airborne, lower the nose slightly and accelerate in ground effect, but make sure you keep the landing gear clear of the surface. If there are obstacles in your flight path, accelerate to VX or the climb speed recommended in the POH. If obstacles aren't present, accelerate to VY. Once you've achieved a positive rate of climb and can no longer land on the remaining runway, retract the gear if appropriate. When you are clear of all obstacles, raise the flaps according to the recommendations in the POH and complete the after takeoff checklist. Now let's take a look at a soft field landing. Your objective here is to delay the transfer of weight from the wings to the landing gear until the airplane is at the slowest possible speed. The pattern and approach are normal, except you use enough power during the flare to help arrest the rate of descent. There is no need for a steep glide angle unless there are obstacles in the approach path. After you're established on final, maintain precise control of your airspeed, rate of descent, and ground track. Prior to touchdown, establish a nose-high landing attitude which allows the main gear to contact the surface with the nose wheel clear of the ground. Using power during the flare creates more airflow over the tail surfaces and helps you control the descent. The touchdown should occur just above the stalling speed. Deceleration is usually rapid on a soft surface, so the use of brakes may not be needed. In fact, the use of brakes could cause the nose wheel to dig into the surface and the aircraft to nose over. Retract the flaps as recommended. It is usually preferable to leave the flaps down during the landing roll so your attention focuses on maintaining positive directional control. You will probably need to add more power than usual as you're taxiing to the parking area. You should also maintain back pressure on the control wheel. When clear of the runway, complete the after-landing checklist. Proficiency in maximum performance takeoffs and landings allows you to safely take advantage of small and soft runways. This enables you to increase your airplane's usefulness and lets you get to areas not served by airports with long, hard-surfaced runways.